Hello, welcome to the Seeking Heaven channel, and this is our live Friday chat, which is called Seekers Speak. And if you haven't subscribed to this channel, please subscribe, like, view, make comments. Also, hey, I'm open to emails if there's anything that you want a topic for us to discuss. Let me know. So I am your host, Tamara Richardson. I am a 6-time near-death experiencer, an afterlife speaker, as well as an evidential psychic medium, among many other things, like a channeler. So tonight, we're going to have so much fun. I have a guest wow, she is so spiritually well-rounded. I have so much fun with her. Our guest tonight is Wendy Rose Williams. Let me tell you a little bit about her, and then I'll bring her on. She is a 2-time near-death experiencer. She's a certified spiritual teacher, as well as a Reiki Master and Reiki Master healer, that is, and a past life regressionist. But she's an author. But she's also done quite a bit of her own healing as well, mentally and physically and spiritually and all that, and her own past lives. So she is a true seeker like you guys. So Wendy, she's written several books, and she's also trained with Dr. Brian Weiss, which, as you know, in Many Lives, Many Masters. So she's very fascinating. She also has her own talk show, radio podcast called Waking Up Spiritually. And that would be wakingupspiritually.com/broadcast. And you can hear her past broadcasts, which she has meditations, working with energy, your guides. I mean, she's got a lot of cool stuff. So she's just a cool person. So we're going to have a blast tonight. So let me welcome Wendy. Wendy,
well, thanks,
good to see
Tamara. You. Oh, it's great to see you. What a wonderful introduction. Thank you so much.
Well, hey, there's so much to you, and you're so much fun. And I was saying earlier that you're so humble and sweet. I mean, you really are a little spiritual powerhouse, but you're just such a kind, humble person. So thank you for being here.
Oh, absolutely. Thank you.
Well, I wanted to mention before we get into it too much that we are speaking together. We didn't plan that. We really didn't. But we're speaking on it's in June 12 and 13 for the Spiritual Awakenings International, which we're both involved with, one of the associations. And you can see Wendy and I we're right there together in the picture. But we're speaking on the Multiple Experiencers panel, and I think that's on Saturday, if I'm not correct.
Yes, Isn't it's Saturday. It's the last event of the day on Saturday.
Okay. Oh, well, ending it with a bang with us. We better bring it.
That's right.
So you can see here spiritualawakeningsinternational.org, where you can sign up for the conference for free. It's free. So that's very nice. And, I think if things go well, they're planning to do this in person next year, but for now it's online and it's free. So we have, a global community there, and they asked us to speak. So it just happens that we're on the same panel. I haven't even talked to you about that. I just mentioned it just now, and I figure it's time because it's right around the corner to mention that. But I thought there's so many things that we could talk about tonight. And I do want to mention, before we go further, your books. You've got Regression Healing 1, and you have other books that we mentioned too. What was it called? The one, the Heaven Sent?
Heaven Sent, which is about animals, and it's a multi-author book where I submitted a short story called The War Dog. And then I also wrote a book called The Flow 1 Plimoth Plantation.
Yeah, very fascinating. And they are, except for, well, I guess really all of them, but having to do with the soul's journey, past lives, our connection, which is what we want to talk about tonight. I mean, I have questions for you as well. So I'm trying to think, how are we going to dive into this? Because, we like to go deep. I'm fascinated about different dimensions that come up in past lives. And I have done a lot of past life myself, like you have. And surprise, you find out, wow, we've lived on other planets, we've been other things, but surprise. And so you really begin to see that, wow, life is so much bigger than I ever thought. Why don't you start off with maybe some, if you can recall any interesting stories that you found interesting or entertaining as far as past life clients. I mean, you don't have to say their name.
Well, some of the changes that I'm noticing recently is people are starting to remember lives in other dimensions. And I think that is fascinating when someone can recall a past life where they might have been a fairy, or where they might have been on another planet, or they might have been a mermaid, or might have been a horse or a dog. I just think that's amazing. A dragon.
Mhm.
So I just think that's a really big
Really?
deal that we're doing these deep dives and starting to get a fuller picture of who our amazing souls really are.
No, I agree. Well, okay, so I could be somewhat the guinea pig. I don't want to get too weird, and throw everybody off. You're like, just when we were trusting Tamara, we don't want to take it too weird. But I have seen being on other planets, and
Mhm.
I have seen where I'm not human. Um, to me, I viewed it kind of like almost like a cartoon because I was like I know this is crazy. I mean, I was like a blue dinosaur married to a pink dinosaur. This apparently is not in my reality. That was interesting. And we had TVs, but the TVs would be three-dimensional, and they would just kind of, if you want to call it a TV, the transportation system was different. It was in a glass or like a tube all around the city, and you go boop, and you go through the tube. I've run some where I was more like a jellyfish, kind of in space. Like, what's that all about? I've had those. I've also where I was human looking as well. I've run one where it's underwater, where it was we could breathe underwater. We could breathe,
Yes.
but we looked human, but we could breathe. And I thought that was interesting because I was really like, oh my God, I can breathe. Like in the session, I was like, I can breathe under the water. So it's funny now. I look at things differently as time goes on. Going, I think I was telling you, Wendy, that I'm really obsessed with mermaids and and unicorns. And I mean, yeah, I know it sounds like 12 years old, but in different dimensions or realities, I'm sure those things were all real, including fairies.
Exactly. They're just different realms. I mean, there's the interplanetary aspect of we can choose to incarnate on another planet, as you
Mhm.
said, or we can choose to incarnate in another dimension, whether it's the fairy realm or whether it's the dragon realm or whatever it might be. And some of them, like your example of the mermaids, that might be on Earth. Like maybe someone was a mermaid outside the dome at Atlantis. I've got memories
Mhm.
like that, for instance, once
Mm.
Atlantis had sunk. Or you might have been a mermaid on a water planet. So there's just different possibilities.
Well, and I think that if people examine their dreams or what's going on, and I'm asking people, I mean, have you had odd dreams? Where you're flying, right? It may sometimes it's these things popping through in dreams, and or you could have been one of these, mermaids and laughed it off, or merman. But it was just another time. I don't know about you, Wendy, but because if you haven't had past life, you need to hook up with Wendy because I know she does this. There's other people that's been on the show too, but it is such a fun ride, and it really opens your consciousness up because you're like, wow, who knew? And yeah, there's a part of you go, I don't know if it's real, but how you know it's because there's emotion attached to it.
Absolutely. There's emotions that are very
Hmm.
real, and those don't come up when you are just making something up as pure fantasy. There's not emotions involved with it in the same way. And also, they can correlate with recurring dreams that you've had. So that's certainly a worthwhile question. If you've had this puzzling dream many times, that's certainly worth putting on your question list for when you have your past life regression, and it just starts to bring some of the pieces together in a way that can just bring us more peace in our hearts and help us just more understand things of why certain things happen, and can help us reframe things too of, oh, here's why this happened for me, rather than this being done to me type of thing.
Okay, that's a very good point. So there is responsibility in there. I'll give you an example that for me, I don't care. I'm like, at this point, I'm just, it is what it is. It's kind of funny. So I ran a past life, and it was it looked to me like I was like the time period of Three Musketeers kind of person. That time period I had the outfit on, and I
Yes.
thought I was a Casanova. It came across running this again like another comedy. And I was like a Casanova, and I could not understand. I started out at the bottom of a well with rats eating me, and I died that way. And I was so upset, and I'm running, and oh, why would this happen to me? I know you understand how this goes. Oh, this is horrible. So I had a little responsibility in that. I was visiting on the balconies, like it's like a comedy. I'm built like Casanova, these women at night who are married. Well, so who do you think threw me in the well? The
One of the husbands.
No, all the husbands got together.
Oh, a little teamwork.
They're like, we're getting that sneaky little romantic bastard. And that's why, I'm really toned down as a woman this time, because as a guy, I was totally William Shatner times 10. So, yeah. And then when I ran out, I went, oh, so I had something to do with that. There was a responsibility. The good news is I didn't stay there. We you can't trap a spirit. We live forever. We go on. But a lot of times because personally with me, I've had so much past life. I don't know about you, Wendy, but I can recall things on my own now. Can you do that? I can just.
Yes, spontaneous recall
Yeah.
can definitely come up. And I think once you learn how to do this work via past life regression, or maybe via dream analysis, or whichever way, it's just different ways of opening the same doorway into those memories, and then being able to process those memories. So for instance, it's possible to be triggered and have spontaneous recall when you're simply sitting watching a television program.
Absolutely. I agree with that. And it happens with a lot of people. They're like, whoa, that seems familiar.
Exactly. And for me, one time I was watching Doctor Who with my youngest daughter, and all of a sudden it went to a split screen in my mind's eye. And I can still see the TV show going, and I know what she's watching, but I'm watching a whole nother screen of me in that same timeline that Doctor Who was exploring. So I was back in Shakespearean times doing something totally unrelated to what was happening in the TV program, but it was simply the same time took me back there.
I get it. I've had that where I'm watching things, or I've had a lot of dreams where it looks like Versailles. I've had a lot of dreams where I see all these chandeliers, and I didn't know it was a place.
Okay.
But I am in this palace, and I'm the one doing the dresses. I'm the one pinning the dresses and I'm like the
dress designer.
I'm the dress designer.
Oh
Yeah.
my.
Yeah. I'm not just some peasant who sews. Like, they take me with them. Like, what do you think we should have here? What do you think? They ask me also about decorating too, but yeah. And I see me pinning, and I see whatever, and I'm being asked my opinion a lot. And so, yeah, I'm a little bit higher status. I'm not like royalty, but I'm not like a peasant. I'm a little bit higher status. I'm a little closer, but I recall that and see it. And so when I see it, I have a fondness. And so sometimes there's a fondness, like people are attracted to certain time periods.
Yes.
Don't you think that is?
Absolutely, because you may be remembering a positive lifetime in that time period, or it can also be a place. You can travel somewhere and you think you've never been there before, but you find out you're actually on a past life pilgrimage. And that's why you were drawn back to that place, because there may be those fond memories. There may be past life energy to release. Maybe you're supposed to finish up a lesson, or just, have an adventure that didn't quite get finished in that area previously.
Absolutely. And I want to talk about soul groups and how we play this little game together and how we go through these little scenarios. But there's a question we have first from Clay. So, are fairies and dragons beings or archetypes that existed long before us? And now, what is that about?
I agree that there are archetypes, and it's interesting because sometimes when the person is experiencing it in the past life regression, it is an archetype. So it's just typically then this really brief flash, and they'll say, "Oh, well, I see a dragon," or "I feel like there's a dragon there." And that's pretty different than them going on for 10 or 15 minutes about their experiences being a dragon. So there, there's a difference of what goes on, and the emotion, as we said earlier, around what went on with that. I had an experience where I remembered being a dragon, and it simply came up because the past life regression is my own session where I was the client, and the past life regressionist was pointing out that in that lifetime, I had been trying to teach and uplift and bring the energy along in a certain area. And it was
Oh,
pretty frustrating because I wasn't getting through to most people. They didn't understand it. And there'd been a lot of clashes with my husband, even though, there was love too. But there just were a lot of clashes. And she just asked me at the end of, all this past life, visioning that I probably talked about it for an hour. And then she said, "Can you see a different way that you and your husband might have played it out?" And so I have my eyes closed. I'm just visioning. And I thought, oh, maybe I'm going to see, that we didn't get married or that the marriage was easier or happier. What I saw was the two of us as dragons.
wow.
And
That's
it was
cool.
really, really interesting, and just played it out that way for about 10 or 15 minutes. So maybe it was a parallel dimension. I mean, there's so many things
Wow.
we just don't know.
Wow.
But I was able to accomplish what I had tried to accomplish as a person in that lifetime so much more effectively as the dragon.
That is so
It was
funny.
quite interesting.
Well, I mean, looking at this, I mean, some of this, some of it's tough. You get through it, and on the other side, you have greater understanding, and it's amazing. But then some of these are funny that I've run. They're very, very funny.
Oh, absolutely. I have seen some of the funniest guides coming in for people recently. And people will say to me, "Oh gosh, I must have been doing it wrong." And it's like, no, just share with me, because a guide can present in such hilarious ways. So this one gal, I said, "Well, what are you seeing? What are you sensing? What are you hearing?" She said, "Well, he looks like Mr. Incredible from the animated film." And I said, "Well, let's just go with that. Let's just see if he shifts. Let's see what the reason is." And she was feeling perhaps kind of like disempowered. So Mr. Incredible was absolutely perfect to come in as a guide. And he did keep that energy. He didn't shift into anything else. Because sometimes it's just to give us, a real laugh, or just to get us to
Okay.
smile, to raise our vibration, because the guide is just lowering their vibration to come meet us halfway, particularly if it's an angel. So they've got to help lift us up. And us laughing and smiling is just the natural way to raise our vibration. So I think sometimes that's why they come in as cartoon characters, or just come in and act really silly. Because I had a different client where he said, "My guide comes in every time and he's 40 feet tall. It is like so over the top."
Well, so I want to ask you this. So just so people can understand, you can explain a little bit more. How and why do spirit guides come through in past life sessions? Can you
Sure,
explain that? Okay.
sure. So, the way I've designed the sessions, regardless if the person is having a 2.5 hour or a 4 hour session with me for their past life regression, what we do first is we go to a healing temple, because pretty much everyone needs some healing. And mind, body, spirit, it truly, when our physical body gets feeling better and we just go through those visualizations in the healing temple, it gets our mind more freed up and our emotions just feeling better, and it gets our spiritual energy just
Oh,
kind of
absolutely.
flowing. So we do that first, and then we do a guided meditation together where I have the person meet with their spirit guide. Their spirit guide might be
Okay.
their own higher self, and that's fine too. But just feeling that you've got this wonderful resource and that you've got this wisdom and support to call on, because a lot of people can feel very alone or feel like they've just got so many decisions to make in life, and they just don't feel supported enough because they haven't just found the way to tap into their own intuition is another way of looking at it too.
Mm,
They can't feel like that gut wisdom, or they don't feel it in their heart,
okay.
wherever the different parts are in the body that something is right for you, or it's not something you want to work with. And to kind of pull back and not be engaging in that area. So I have the person go to the healing temple and then meet with their guide before we go to the time and place with the most healing and information for their life today. Because if I were to suggest that to them right at the very beginning of the session, people can more struggle. So it's just the way that I've learned to design the session. So that's why guides are a big part of it. And it's the higher self and guides that are choosing what past life or past lives each client is going to view. Because I don't have a crystal ball. I'm not an evidential
I do.
psychic medium.
No, I don't.
You do. You
I
do.
got a lot of them.
But I'm not doing the sessions in that manner. I'm doing them to empower the person to see their own.
Yeah. It's good stuff. I'm telling you guys, it's so much fun. It is really good. So maybe explain this. And it makes me question, are past lives, are they really past? Or are we living many lives at the same time in various dimensions? I mean, I've been told so many times in heaven that there is no time, as we understand it. There's only moments and moments of segments of time. That's what I've been told. So how does that work? I mean, we're getting deep, but we're hanging in there. So are they? So I know. Okay, from what I understand, they're called different things, but wouldn't you say that a lot of this information is what people would call on the Akashic records or the Book of Life or wherever this information is? So the question is it written before? Are we living it now? All these things? How do you stack it up in a unit that we can understand?
Sure. Well, I think it's a human construct for simplicity because we need it to make sense to our human brain, where we have this construct of past, present, and future. So that's kind of our base layer, so to speak. Yes, I do believe that we have a book of life in the Akashic records where past, present, and future are already all written. There's that beautiful expression of just relax into your destiny, relax into your life purpose, because it's already been written in the stars. So what you're meant to do as your soul mission, as your life path, it's already guaranteed, so to speak. It's just gonna play out. So maybe it helps to look at time more as a wheel versus as a line.
Ooh,
And it's
I
like
like
you can
that.
step on and
Ooh.
off the wheel in different places.
Wow, love
and
it.
see like a slice of time. So, because I agree with you that heaven, home, the light, the universe, whatever your belief system is, it's a timeless, spaceless place. And that's really hard to wrap our head around. And then there's the whole quantum physics conversation around string theory. And yes, it's all happening in the now. And Eckhart Tolle's work, Ram Dass's work, Be Here Now. Because in a way, that's really all you have is this present moment. So it just kind of spins from there, and just, you can kind of see yourself stepping on and off that wheel of time.
Okay, so that makes sense. So really the records where we have everything that we have been, will be, whatever, let's just say is timeless. I know that's hard for us humans to understand that, but we can have access to that, either our higher self or through our guides, or right. And I think it depends what our soul is ready for to hear.
Yes. Yes. And what I do during this session is I ask a guide to come forward in the Akashic records, because it's too overwhelming for most people. And I want to be efficient with their time during the session. So I ask a guide to come forward with their book of life. And most people are able to visualize and to do that and say, and I'll just say, who's presenting for you? What do they look like? Because I'm not doing it as a clairvoyant reading, so to speak, for
Right.
them. And sure, I get impressions and my guides will be telling me, but my guides are more instructing me and helping me hold the space, and they've got their guides working with them. So it's just this beautiful team that comes in for the
I agree.
sessions. Perhaps it's similar, Tamara, when you're doing evidential mediumship and doing a reading, that you can just sense all those beings gathering, both for
Yeah.
you, supporting you, and for your client.
It is very similar. I do see a lot of similarities. And again, I've experienced and love the past life. I mean, I'm like a big proponent for it. Yeah, do it. In doubt, do it. Because I always say the biggest journey you'll ever have is the journey of self. If you really want to open a mystery, look at you, because there's so much there that we don't even realize. We've got another great question. Do these guides, is from Clay, do these guides ever reveal a client's true purpose or what lessons they need to learn during this lifetime? That's a good question.
That's a great question. The two top questions that I get are, how can I connect with my guides? Do I have guides? Get that connection going for me, because I haven't been able to figure it out myself.
Okay.
And what is my life purpose? What am I here for? What's my life path meant to be? If the person is 30 or older, I find typically they'll get at least some information in that area. If they're under that age and they haven't had that first Saturn return at ages 28 to 30,
Got
the
it.
guides will more often say, and they can get really playful with us, and they're like, no, you're in chapter 15 of your life book and you're going to go through chapter 49. So we don't want to be telling you about chapter 40 right now, when you're really going to come into your own with your life purpose, because we'd ruin the book for you. We
You,
don't want to take away lessons and experiences.
they do the same thing with me. They do the same thing, and it's the same group that's working with you, so it totally makes sense to me. But there's certain things that they can't say, and there's certain things that they can say. But it's usually loving and supportive, like
Exactly.
like continue on, or so and so. You should continue more with your teachings. You really are, not be so resistant. You're really good with your teachings. You should continue. I've been told forever, be from my guides, be a teacher. I'm like, I don't want to be a teacher. And then they're like, I don't want that kind of responsibility. I don't want any bad students. I don't want to make sure everything, I want all my kids turning out good. And then they said, I have a wrong idea about that. I said, what's that? And they said that they gave explanations for me. They had to work with me a lot. But being stubborn, about certain things, or it's come up in readings that someone's really good at blah, blah, blah. And they go, well, I really am. You've ever thought about doing some of that? Yeah,
Exactly.
actually quite a lot. And I'm like, okay, but don't you think that kind of information, like validating from guides, comes through?
That's a big deal, and that's so true, because people can think past life regressions are just to release energy that's holding them back, or that's kind of tough or challenging. But the opposite is also true, where there's these amazing forgotten abilities, and people can just have incredible information download. For instance, maybe they have served in the sacred temples. Maybe they have been a healer. Maybe they have been scribes or writers. Maybe they've done so many types of, maybe they've been animal communicators or healers. There's just so many. Maybe they know how to find water when there's no water. Maybe they know how to clear
Ooh, that's
water.
good.
There can be
That's some
so many.
Atlanta stuff coming back.
Yes, there's so many environmental things that can really be helpful. Maybe they know how to produce energy without polluting the planet or harming the planet. Those
Beautiful.
types of things. Maybe they know how to create electricity where it's going to be free and not be harmful, and not have radiation or this or that or the other thing coming from it. So there's a lot of that type of information that's coming through in sessions too.
It's interesting because that kind of triggered me to. I've run things where I've seen other planets' technologies, that we didn't have. And it was funny. I've got this running little joke with my husband that I'm really upset that there is no hovercraft cars yet, because I remember in a couple lives of designing the technology, and then another one where I designed the look of it, and everybody else was worried about the speed, and you get so much whatever and what it was. And I'm like, yeah, but look how, the ergonomics of this thing is fantastic. And so, and being in a different time and seeing the technology of that, being in a rocket ship, and then the pad there was no pad, but it was just all 3D, and I'm doing like this and that. And I knew all these like really advanced equations, and I'm going, okay, I failed real estate math twice. Apparently I'm kidding myself, because here I am like a genius. Right. So
isn't it interesting? It's so interesting. And in this lifetime, I have no sense of direction. I cannot find my way out of a paper bag. I can tell you it's west if it's 5 o'clock and the sun is right in my eyes. We're pretty basic. And I found out in a past life, I was an Oregon wagon train leader. And I was a cartographer, and I led people, and I could navigate. I'm like, oh, those skills didn't come back along.
This is exactly, some do, and some do, but like that one, if I'm doing all these equation of the equals the so-and-so and really advanced math stuff, that that somewhere in there, I know this. The other thing is music. Some people come back, and I think it's because they have a button on it. Like some people have buttons on teaching or math, or, maybe they had something in life and it was traumatic and it was around that. And so and it might shut someone down in that area. But I find that we have here's the thing. If you live forever, and say you've been a football player like 50,000 times, and you come back again, and guess what? You are a football player. You would have to forget and pretend, oh, I don't know this. I've got to work really hard to be good at it. I don't know why I'm a natural. So you can play the game. So it would be interesting. So we've forgotten so much of what we're good at.
So it could be interesting. So you're willing to try new things that aren't really new, so you can excel in different ways. And also, you may have had bad's not the right word. You may have had challenging or surprising or really difficult outcomes based on what you did before, but just, to be brave and courageous and to just have that enthusiasm, like to be childlike, where you're willing to really experiment and be enthusiastic about it. You just don't want this, blasé, burned out, I don't care, I've done it a million times before. That's not a very progressive attitude for us.
Well, there's also, there's different, I'm actually being told a response to that right now. I'm like, okay, because, and the response was this makes me laugh. It's not like they're not with you too, your guides and all this, but is that if we are that football player, times are different. You know what I'm saying? Times are different, and the technology, we're different. We're in different times. So because of the time and the people and the constructs of a different dimension or wherever we are, it changes it automatically. So it's not exactly the same thing.
There's so many variables. Plus,
variables.
Football is such a team sport. There's so much going on with what takes to coach a great team and lead a great team. So there's just so many variables in it.
Yeah. And you're not with the same people, and that's all switch. You're at a different place. So the variables are always different. I wanted to ask you about, okay, so we've got true purpose. I also know you're a spiritual teacher. So just to end off on I get this guide thing all the time from people, all the time. Like all about my guides. And people are kind of obsessed. What are my guides and so forth? My thoughts on that is that everybody has them. I see different people that sometimes will show up for me. Like, who are you? Like when my husband and I were taking martial arts, a new guy showed up. I'm like, who are you? And to help with that, I was a Japanese guy. And even though I wasn't learning, I was Korean when I was learning Korean martial arts, but he showed up. So I think that different ones will move around too. But I tell people, don't get too hung up on that. Just, be more interested in you, because I think it's, even our higher self and our origin of where we came from is very powerful. And I think sometimes guides they show up as guides, but it's really, I mean, your higher self that's been around for eons since the beginning of time, but you don't recognize you. You think it's a guide. What do you think on that?
I agree, because sometimes when I'm having people do the meditation to meet their guide, if they're telling me and we've tried it 2 or 3 different ways and no one's showing up, then I'll just say, put a full length mirror in front of you
Ooh,
and
that's a good one.
just look. And then usually they'll say, oh my gosh, it's me. It's my own higher self.
You're
Or it's their guide being silly and having fun, and they'll see them in the mirror and they'll catch them because they're standing behind them and they're coming in. And I had asked them to step out of a grove of trees in front of them so that, we can catch them via the mirror, because they just wanted to come in that way instead and just show that they're there, with like a hand on their shoulder, or that they're standing behind them to, I've got your back. Type of energy.
That's nice. I love that. That's a great example. I want to go to this question here. This is Clay. I've always thought that analyzing our past lives could be a tool to understanding our true individual nature, because one can see the common traits they have always had from life to life. Do you want to talk about common traits or common things that people tend to take? And before, through life, one quick thing I'm going to throw and interject that's come up before is that I've heard, I don't know what I think about this, because I've seen so many different things like you have, but you do this professionally. So I've also heard that people like to come back with certain physical attributes too, meaning, same eyes or strong jaw, no matter if they're male or female. And the reason that I got from this person, it was a UFO expert present, didn't it? And this was his theory. I said, why? He said, because your DNA is coded. It's just kind of easier sometimes, kind of boop. It's already in there. You already remember doing that. So I see it differently. So traits, personality, and looks. Can you?
Sure.
That's a lot.
Sure.
That's a lot. Sorry.
Let's start with looks. So my belief on that is, yes, there may be some resemblance, but it's choice. It's free will choice.
I'm with you.
And when we have enough lifetimes, we're going to incarnate not only as male and female and gay and straight and fluid and asexual and just everything, but we're going to be in all these different cultures and countries. And we can have many, many different appearances, but those soulmates that you're going to recognize, it's by the energy. Yes, the eyes are the window to the soul. So even though the eye may not be the same color, the same shape, maybe deep set, maybe bulbous, maybe different, there's just the energy. And often it is something to do with the eyes. I have met some people, because I asked that question in one of my own Life Between Lives. And I said, okay, what's true for me? And what I was told was, you've been many places, many times, totally different appearances, but you do have a preferred type. You are often a small brunette, like you are now, and you are also often a tall, willowy redhead. Those seem to be two kind of like types of female body that I choose fairly often. So it was interesting. So the answer was both. There was some truth to we can look the same. And then it was also for all over the map. That was just for me, from my experience, but it seems to hold with a lot of people. Yeah. If you're working with someone who's had a much smaller number of lives, like I've worked with someone, and you will find out, well, I've only incarnated 32 times total. And yes, I've looked quite similar. I've had chosen many times to incarnate in the United Kingdom, as an example, or whatever it might be. So I've looked fairly similar across those lifetimes. So,
I got it.
And then regarding characteristics, and abilities, I think we can choose, because it's all about, I feel our soul is so driven to learn, and that our soul wants to progress, and that we progress based on experiences. So we choose experiences all over the map. Some of them wonderful and uplifting, some of them, more neutral, and some of them were like, what the heck was I thinking? Because us as humans in the body form, we're like, this sucks. This is just really, really hard. And it's harder than I thought, because when I was up there in heaven, when I'm up there with the light, I don't experience hunger. I don't experience what it's like to have severe scoliosis. I don't experience what it's like to be in a wheelchair, to be shot, whatever you may have, to have a disease. You're choosing it for a reason, because it's just going to bring out some really, really powerful lessons. I do definitely see people who have progression across their lives. Take the example of a writer. Okay. You don't become Louisa May Alcott the first time out and, write hundreds of books that are still, or whatever number she wrote, they're still being read today, hundreds of years later. That was not her first gig.
That's so funny.
She very likely started off as a scribe, where she was in a nunnery and a monastery, somewhere copying holy scrolls and learning to do that very precisely, learning to do that very well.
Ran that past life too.
Yes, exactly. And then, fast forward hundreds, if not thousands of years, maybe you had just your own personal diary or your own personal journal, but it was really helpful and meaningful. Maybe you had a newspaper column. Well, now maybe your newspaper column was part of the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, right. Or, something pretty influential. Maybe you became Leslie Kean and you're a really well-respected investigative journalist. It just kind of builds and builds and builds. And there can be backtracking too, so you may be still pursuing that writing career, but, there's some that are just real flops, so that you just don't get too full of yourself.
Isn't that funny? I've never thought about it like that. But, it's one thing that I have noticed that with that in past lives, and tell me what you think, that some people, let's just pick something random. Some people, let's say collectors, maybe some, let's say a man, but you don't have to be a man, but let's say you're a man right now and you're really interested in finely carved, let's just say knives. Not that you want to use them, but you just like the craftsmanship and you're really fascinated by the tools used behind it and blah, blah, blah. I find that usually you'll trace it back that a lot of times they always like the way, wow, this is really made well. and they still, like me, it's leather. But then I've done so many past life where I love smelling leather. I love my saddlebags. I love touching leather. It's got to be leather. And now I'm the same way. And I've spent so many lives where I'm just touching this leather. And so, or things made really well. What great fabric. Guys, yes. When I was a guy or a girl, I'm really into the fabric. I don't speak on this for people for a minute about preferences.
Sure. And that's tying back into you having been the designer in the court. And that's tying into that futuristic. You were looking at the ergonomics of the hovercraft.
Oh boy, you're good, aren't you?
So, boy. There's that common
exposed.
There's that common thread through them of those skills and abilities played out in very different ways. And it may have been just thousands of years apart, but we're just building on those. And when you were talking about those knives or swords, because yes, I mean, look in museums, look at the workmanship and like the carvings on some of them, on the handles, as well as the shape and the just the intrinsic beauty of it.
Yeah. It's true. And it's so it's funny. People are caught up in pens and pens and pens. Oh, I love how this pen, I have these $150 pens. That's not me, but maybe they were really interested in quills and inks. But I find that it's kind of weird. It's kind of quirky. It's like a soul quirky thing. Like we hung up in little things like people that have long hair. You ever see people with long hair? Oh, I've noticed that people, it's not just if they have a thing with long hair, they'll have past lives like, I love the hair. They've got good hair. It's really good thick hair. Like they're upset. And I think it's kind of funny that while we get hung up on little things, like you said, the eyes, or you like the little short brunette. One of the things that I hung up on, doesn't matter if I'm male or female, or I've seen different lives, and some don't look very good. I mean, we've been everything. We've been tall, short, big, fat, different colors, different places, different whatever, different planets. But I always liked a strong jaw. Why? I don't know. I mean, why we pick these things. Like some people, they pick, it's the funniest little quirky thing, but I think
Right.
It's the strangest little in different lives. Like, do I have a good, strong jaw? That's silly.
Yeah.
And that's not this time period. That's probably from like what, a time period like, where barbershop quartet.
Who knows? But like you said, there's just these little quirky preferences.
So you see that probably too in sessions, don't you?
Definitely. That's what makes us unique.
Exactly. So we're all still very unique. I want to say hey to, we've got Shannon, your friend, Shannon Johnson, who's here, who's supporting you.
Oh,
and
wonderful. Hi, Shannon.
And thank you for supporting the show. And Wendy. Wendy's awesome. And then we've got Adriana, who's here, as well as Kristen and former guest. And they're all supporting the show. Thank you so much. And Clay, of course, who's awesome. He's also my husband, but he's so supportive. And then as well as Ruth Secreto has been on the show, and she had an NDE and a couple, and she's a Jesus experiencer like me. So I always say she's my sister in Jesus, because we both saw him. So she's here. So welcome everybody. I wanted to go to blah, 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 the soul family. Why do people, I'm going to pull that back up. Why people have, this is such good. Isn't this fun? This is so fun. You're like, I love your answers. Yes, all of that. And then all the exceptions, because I think we're complicated, don't you? We're very complicated.
Absolutely. I have had the wonderful joy of facilitating hundreds of past life regressions. When you've seen one past life regression, you've seen one past life regression. There is just always a variety. So it's just never boring, because it's just as unique as we are. So they're just always different.
Okay. So I know a lot of people probably want to know about this, is that we have, and I'll tell you what I think, and I could be wrong. Heck, I'm learning too. So soul family to me is that person, like you were telling, and maybe you can share a little bit of that about the person that you met and had that connection. But when I meet someone, I go, oh my God, and you have a heart connection and you just love them and just feel like you know them. That's how I feel it. But how do you see soul family? Why do we travel around together versus your birth family? And I think sometimes they can be the same, but can you go into that for
Absolutely.
us? Okay.
I see soul family as a group of individual souls that we choose to incarnate with many times. And we're going to work on certain lessons together. So that's where soul contracts come in. But you're not going to all incarnate together as a group every time, because they may be staying at home. They may be off in another dimension. They may be off on another planet. There's just view it as, this flexible team, so to speak.
Okay.
And you don't play the same roles with each other either. So for instance, I believe this is my mother's first time as my mother. She was my stepmother in the 1600s and did a wonderful, amazing job.
She did a good job.
Plimoth Plantation. But that's her only 2 times as having been my mother. I'm usually her mother. And that's created some friction for us.
Oh,
I'm sure I was not a fun little kid to my parents, because I remembered literally like standing in the crib. I just want to say this gently, thank you, Mom and Dad, for doing a great job and doing the best you could. But I remember looking at them and thinking, you don't know what you're doing. That's not a normal thought for like a really little.
No.
And I remember thinking it that young, just simply because I was more often my mother's mother.
Got it.
So
Yeah.
we had switched roles, but we switched roles for a really good reason. And I was able to discover it during my Life Between Lives session, the first one that I had of
Oh,
that type of session. And we came in with the reverse roles this time so that we could learn how to disagree without being disagreeable. Because in
mm.
past lives,
Ooh, that's a
whenever
good
we'd
one.
come across a really strong difference of opinion or disagreement, we had always just really fought. We had parted ways angrily. So this lifetime was to master that and to learn,
Wow.
because you can learn to agree to disagree.
Wow.
And it
Well,
doesn't mean you don't love the person. It doesn't mean they don't have the right to their opinion, and your opinions can be diametrically opposed. But we
this is
hadn't
a,
mastered that.
I tell you what, we need to master that as humanity because that is that
Absolutely.
we need to honor everybody. Um,
Absolutely.
so I get that because many times in this life, my mom's real playful like a kid and whatever, and I'm like, feel like the mom. There's a reason for that. And I get
Yes.
frustrated. Like when I was a little kid, I'm like, what's going on? Why are you not here? Same thing.
Yes.
So, and there's a lot of things we have in common. She's probably watching. I don't know. But she's a great dresser. She's very funny, but certain views that we're just different. And so
Sure.
we're at this point now that we're both grown women and we have to learn to agree, to disagree, and be happy for one another for the choices that we make. And to me, that's, I guess that's getting older, maturity. Wouldn't you say that's
Absolutely. We're
maturity?
not meant to be cookie cutters. We're meant to, we've got to find our own truth and be able to speak our own truth and allow other people to do the same. That's just really important. We've got to find that peace within and just be able to, spread that energy.
Absolutely. Let's go now. I know the family we're with, we've chosen ahead of time. Okay, you're the dad. Okay, great. I'm the daughter. You're okay, good. All right. All right. Okay, good. And then we come to earth and we forget. And then this happens. But we've done this with a lot of people. I mean, honestly, I'm thinking there's probably no one in this world we don't know or other worlds.
That may be true, because you're absolutely right. We don't only interact with our primary soul group. We can have very important relationships or brief encounters, because every time you meet a soulmate or someone that you've known and you're really recognizing, it doesn't mean it's rainbows and unicorns. It can be that, ooh,
Mm-mm,
I don't like this person. And it's like you don't want to
mm.
shake hands, you don't want to hug, however you're being introduced to them, whatever the setting is, and you're like,
Interesting. That's
ooh,
true.
you're like backing up. So I've definitely met people like that, and certainly people have had that reaction to me because they may be the one remembering, and they didn't have a good encounter with me previously, so they're just like, gritting their teeth and trying to move away. And I'm thinking, gee, what did
Mm.
I do? But they're picking up on the past life energy.
So, that's really deep, but that's a good point. I mean, sometimes energetically there's layers. You're just picking up like maybe the person is a different tonality vibration, meaning you're happier and they're just kind of negative and moody. Maybe you're picking up on that. Or someone doesn't like someone, you're going, wow, you look like my sister or mom or somebody. I didn't like them. So you look like, or you have personalities like them. It could be that. But then sometimes it's because you're like, hey, I remember what you did to me past life. It didn't work out so well, and I'm just going to stay away from you. I think we've all done good and bad things, and we're all learning from one another. So
Absolutely.
you have to be a little brave to do this stuff because you do experience difficult moments, but on the other side, it's fantastic because you learn a lot from it. But that's part of our learning, and that I definitely don't want to put hurt in the world. I definitely want to make this a better place. So I'm hoping I get a lot of Jesus brownie points. And I'm like, please, can I just be a guide for a while? This is just goes on and on and on and on, doesn't it? life.
It does. And I actually have been a guide on the other side. And I said, oh, coach, please put me back in.
Really? You didn't like
I
it?
found it. I don't think I had been in the Akashic records for eons. That was my job at home. And I loved that, finding the book of life for people and
That'd be
helping
great.
them understand and interpret it if they didn't have their own guide or angel with them to do it. I would do it for them. And then I moved into the new position as a junior guide in training. But what I found frustrating about that was so many people didn't feel that they could connect with their guide or hear their guide or that they deserved a guide. But guess what? A lot of times they were doing it perfectly well. They just needed to act as if. They needed to trust and keep taking the next step, but they would go back into their left brain. They'd go back into their ego and they'd go, oh, I just made that all up. And it's exhausting being a new guide. I'm sure that the more senior guides don't get as frustrated as I did because I was really new to it. And it's like, oh my goodness, I sent you this synchronicity. I opened this door for you. I did like 12 things in a row. And you're like, well, send me more, or I don't get it, or that can't be real. I asked for a red cardinal to land on my left shoulder when my mother passed to know that she was okay. And it just happened. And I'm like, oh, it's just a bird. It's like, what do you want, people?
I could see. Well, look at us as humans. Don't we get frustrated when we try to help people? We try to help people, and then they don't really take the help, or they don't. And you're like, I'm really just trying to help you, and they don't do it.
That can be ego, because people don't necessarily want our help, and we can just be so over the line of just, we think we know better, and we may have a good intent, but also if you're doing an awful lot of that and it's not being well received, I really think it's time to back up and say, hey, am I doing this to not do my own work? Am I not focusing on my own growth? And I'm going around trying to be Susie Fix-It. Which may not be very well received.
Right. Well, and look, I am a Christian minister, nothing against Christians. I love everybody. But sometimes they rush in to save people and they don't need to be doing that, because sometimes people need to fall down and skin up their knees, because that's how they're going to learn. So we sometimes need to let people make mistakes like children, because we make mistakes. We need to let people. We don't always need to fix people, is what I'm trying to say, because they
absolutely.
Don't you agree?
That is the example with children is perfect, because we do have to go through some painful things as parents, where you've got to let the kids fail. You've got to let them make their own decisions. And, it's not fun sending your child off where they are learning how to drive, and you send them off with your keys in your car and their life is in their hands, and they're 15 years old just learning to drive. It's like, oh, please just bring them back home safely. But you've got to do it. You can't.
Yeah, that's how we learn.
Bubble pack them. You can't stop them from having the experiences, or they're not going to live a full life that they're intended to live, or they're going to crash bigger later because they didn't get to have the experiences at the right time along the way.
True. And I'm referring to friends, family, people, whatever. And you could almost see like, oh boy,
sure.
I see him. Occasionally in life, you go, oh boy, I see impinging danger. Maybe I should kind of step in. And I'm not saying don't, I always say, should I step in? At what level? How much should I do? And sometimes I say, I'll get go ahead. And other times I get, not for you. I'll hear that. Not for you.
Yes.
Not for you.
And I do tune in the same way. I ask my higher self and guides, am I meant to get involved?
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really hard not to, but it's for your growth as well as their growth to not get involved and just be kind of holding the space and just trusting and knowing that they've got this and that they're gonna figure it out. And it's really empowering when you can say to people, you've got this one. I know you can figure it out. I'm here for you. I'm happy to listen. I love you. I care about you. But don't give them your 23 opinions. That's not the best gift. Just holding space for someone. It's hard. I used to have that conversation. I had this one boss that was the lab director in a hospital. He was fantastic, and I reported directly to him. And I would go into his office sometimes and say, do you have 10 minutes to listen to me? Can I tell you of some things that are going on that I'm struggling with, and I'm trying to figure out the best solution without fixing them for me? Can you listen to me? Do you have time to do that? Are you in a headspace where you can hold space for me and help me think it through, but
Yeah.
not be jumping on the phone or sending emails to fix it and change it? Because he could do that more instantly as the director. But how was I going to learn? And also, it was disempowering for me.
Yeah. That makes sense. Well, like sometimes I'll ask my husband certain aspects of Photoshop. I've gotten pretty good at it, but he can do some really cool stuff. So I'll say, "How do you do this?" And he'll show me, and I said, "Okay, now move. Let me try it." Well, then you're not doing it right. That's how I learn. That's how I am in life. I learn by doing.
You've got to be
Some people
kinesthetic with it, right?
I do. And some people learn, well, you can learn multiple ways. I'm not stupid. I do look at other people and go, wow, that didn't work. Don't do it. I do look at other people too, but some people are more observers in life.
Yes.
And then some people have to go through it. Now, if I see, well, this infidelity stuff doesn't work out, I don't recommend it. There's a lot of hurt people over here. I can learn by looking at people and go, wow, that seemed hurtful to everybody. So that's probably not a good situation. But I do like jumping in there and learning firsthand, because then I feel like I've got it. But people do, I think, learn differently.
Sure, absolutely. My oldest daughter is similar to me, and we both do learn a lot from observation and from kind of role playing it in our heads. Whereas my younger daughter, she is experiential, and she's brilliant in her own way, but she's got to jump in the muck and experience it.
Well, it's funny. I think that, and I've never really discussed it. Clay, if you're on the thing, you can chime in and see what you think. This will be fun. I feel like that I'm more of the one that's just jump in the water, and I just let's go.
You learn as you go.
I jump in and embrace it and say, okay, let's go. And so he observes and watches things first. And I'm not saying I'm right and he's wrong, or he's right and I'm wrong. I'm just saying it's a different way.
Right.
I learn by his way, because he'll observe and then he'll play it through his mind. He'll go, well, this and this and this and this. And I was like, oh man, that's good. Where I just kind of wait till I'm there and go, oh, okay, and make the analysis. Let's see if he says, he goes, yep, that's what he said. Yep.
That can pertain to birth order too. The older the firstborn can sometimes be more the observer, because they've got, the adults to themselves, and they're like more in that place. And I think maybe that's why some of the younger children can be more either the kinesthetic or the experiencers, the experiential, because it's just a real different dynamic if there's several kids in the family by then.
I don't know. I was the firstborn child out of 3. And I love my brother and sister, but I really like being number 1. Just saying. I'm not saying I'm a attention ham, but I wanted to ask you also, I know we're all on a soul journey, but we're trying to learn from one another, help one another, help ourselves. It's a lot going on. Don't know if you feel like you can take this question. I mean, you don't have any wrong answers. I don't know, whatever you think about it. What do you feel our collective soul lesson is here? There's a lot going on. You see a lot of, people out there. Man, I really feel the light workers are stepping it up. But then you got the people that are really ugly, that just want to cause problems. And what do you think our lesson is right now?
I believe our lesson as a collective, that's a powerful question. I've not thought about that before. I believe the real question for humanity is, can we learn how to come to a place of peace where we can be living on this planet with so many people, where we are able to sustain life for the long term? Because we know there's a lot of history of other planets having become inhabitable, and that each planet has
Yes.
got a certain lifetime that it's going to go through. But we have not been kind to this planet. When you look at global warming, when you look at fracking, when you look at the pollution, we have not been living in a sustainable way. So I think it's getting to rise up in that area where we're treating our mother Earth, our host, in a gracious, kinder way, as well as are we able to come to peace? Because when you really look at the war economy and just what that's all about is, I'll let my politics show just very briefly, is you've got a very few people that are profiting from that, and you've got millions and millions and millions in poverty and just in very dire circumstances because there's not clean, affordable water, for instance,
Yeah,
or there's
certain
not.
countries. Yeah, certain countries is
Right,
true.
right, or there's just
It's
not
horrible.
the
They're drinking
basic
contaminated.
there's not the basic food, there's not appropriate
Hmm.
shelter, and we've just got too much disease. We've just got too much population because many people would love to have affordable birth control. And again, apologies for if that's political, but that's my belief, is that we'd love to have more choices and have it be affordable
It's
and
balance.
sustainable.
So it's
It's
really
choices.
yeah, it's choices and it's balance. I mean,
Yes.
I think that to me, it's simplistic, but it's going back to the love. And the love, again, you got to start with self, the love of self. And that's a work in progress, but loving each other like brothers and sisters, then we would be concerned about people that didn't have clean water, or would we be concerned with the, people down the street? And it's a natural thing that should be natural, and that's where I think peace comes. But there's havoc and disharmony. And so right now, and I've seen in other past lives, like Mars, we were there, we blew it up. It's got like a layer of like radiation on it. Yeah, it's gone. So I think,
Absolutely.
and having a lot of these UFOers that I've had on, that are experts, that's their, they
Yes.
spent their whole life on this and actually seeing implants taken out of people and studying this whole area and all of this. They're saying that we're being watched by the higher level, alien species, whatever you want to call it, higher level love and vibration. And they're concerned. They don't want to intervene, but they're concerned about us, destroying the place. And so,
Nuclear power is a very big question when you look at nuclear weapons, et
oh
cetera.
God,
And when
horrible,
you look at
horrible.
when you look at a world where we have all this duality and we see all these artificial divisions based on skin color, culture, language, religion, gender, sexual preference, etc., and we just see all these divisions rather than saying we're one
Yeah.
race, we're all the human race. Because when we're at home, it was so clear during my near-death experience, because when I was at home and having this beautiful reunion with my soul family, my soul group, there were about 20 people there. We all looked exactly the same. We were
Oh
like
yeah.
these
Well,
white beach balls of this amazing sparkling energy, like a little lightning storm inside a beach ball. We
right,
were souls, and
right.
everyone looked exactly the same because we are the same on the inside. So
Of
we've just
course.
got to create that peace and realize that, because you can't have peace on the planet when there's still a for-profit with war and
Yeah, I agree.
land grabs, etc.
Well, I totally agree, and I think it's back to balance, and it's back to the lobby, and it sounds like a hippie fest, and kindness to your neighbor and all those things. And so, I love what Jesus told me. He told me that about a year ago. He said, He told me to tell everybody, be the love you were created to be. So, what would that mean if you think about it? It's kind of deep. It'd be better than what we are right now, wouldn't it?
That really is very deep, because you've got to love yourself first and be able to really, really open your heart and be able to be that peace or there won't be peace on the planet, because no one's going to hand it to us.
No, it starts with us.
We're
Each one of
responsible
us.
for it. Exactly.
Yes, we
Because
are.
we're creators. We're such powerful creators. So
Right.
it doesn't do any good to go around like Scarlett O'Hara of, oh my goodness, the sky is
I'm
falling.
a victim. I'm a victim.
I'm
we're
a
not.
victim.
We're
I'm
not
a victim.
victims.
I much preferred her when she knew she needed a new suit and used the green velvet drapes. I much preferred her then because she was in her power, and when she was,
Right.
learning how to grow food herself. Just you've gotta be in your
that's not being a victim.
take the steps.
Of course, every time it's funny you say that when her creating the I think of the Carol Burnett scene, taking the banister, and she's walking around with the curtains. I always think
I was going to say she had the whole drapery hardware on her shoulders.
She went with the whole thing. I'm going, oh my gosh. But yeah, we are one of the things, because we are a product of God, right? We go back to source. We've been everything. We've lived everywhere. We can't die. We are creation. We are a spark of the divine. We are creation. We are part of, we're not God, but we're part of that whole process, because we're like a product of that. And here we are, here we are again. And so we do we're not put here to fail. We're put here, with hopes to do the right thing. So
absolutely,
if every person did energetically, that wave would start changing consciousness, and then all the naysayers and the mean people's luck, they would just kind of go away, because they wouldn't want to be around such high vibration, positive, energetic, take charge people. And
I think that's what's happening. I really do think. I think that's why we're seeing even perhaps more contrast than before, because it seems like things are fairly polarized.
I do,
in a lot of ways.
But I do see something happening. I really, really do. I see a lot. I know we'll have to end off, but I do see a lot as 11111. How good is that? Oh my God, that's a good number right there, guys. But I see a lot of light workers, which are generally lone wolves. Light workers could be healers, could be intuitives, could be anyone that's artists, authors, any of this. I see these people with the higher vibration usually are loners. They are really stepping it up, and they're also for the first time connecting and working together. I've never seen that before.
Well, never technology, seen it. We have the technology, and we also really have that desire. So the networking is just going along beautifully. Things like what we're doing right now with your Seeking Heaven channel. YouTube wasn't a thing 15, 20 years ago. And we couldn't do these Zoom calls internationally, with other people, and really find our tribe, I'm trying to say.
Exactly. Well, and that's just like right now. And then you're going to be on, let me plug this. And Kristen asked a question, what's 144? Honest, I don't know. 8, that's 9. 9 is a supreme number. You could have ninth dimension. You could be that.
Google it as angel number 144. If someone keeps seeing any repeating number, you can Google it as angel number.
Great point.
Whatever the number is. I like Joanne's Sacred Scribes, but there's a lot of them that interpret.
That's a good one. Thank you for that. That's a good one. Yeah, that's a great advice. I go on there too. I get 222. I get 222 a lot. I get 333. The Trinity.
So you must be getting 333.
I get it all the time.
The Jesus number.
I get the Jesus number. I get 2, and actually, just by saying that, I'm getting high. He's here. And then I get 222. I occasionally get 111. I'm getting 8s. Apparently, my name and my birth date is 8. So my episode where I did
some infinity. Some completion.
Oh, God, I wish something would be complete. I'm trying. I'm trying, God. But the thing I did, the live sample medium demonstration, which, by the way, Wendy's going to be on Thursday. If you ever check out her,
looking forward to it.
Oh, we're going to have so much fun. Thursday with Simon Bound of the Past Lives podcast, and they know each other. They're both, in the same biz.
Yes.
He asked me, can I host you doing a medium demonstration? I thought it would be really healing. And I went, I don't know. I don't see why not. Okay. So we couldn't figure out the time. It's May 22nd, the actual date I'm doing this. And I think it's $29.99. It's Simon's thing. But we just came up with 2 days because he said UK time. I said, well, here, you know, in a Saturday night, 7 would probably be good most times in the US, but it's really late there. It's like 5 hours later. So we were doing it 2 and 7, but he's doing that. And I was like, okay. And that's an opportunity that's presented. But Wendy's going to be on Thursday at 2 p.m. coming up, 2 p.m. Eastern time. I'm going to read her live. And there's another lady that's coming there. I don't know. I've never met her. I don't know who she is. She's coming on live. And I know Wendy, but I don't know her in a personal way. I don't know anything about her family relation. So we'll see whoever pops in. And thank you for the angel numbers. That was important. But I was going to say that episode was 80. And you were supposed to be 80. I'm not saying you're still 80 in my heart always, but but I'm getting 8 a lot. So yeah, I always look my numbers up and I always look at stuff. Okay. And so she's saying, okay. And then Shannon, so anyway, Shannon's given her some points to look at that.
Oh,
I
good.
think so I think the great thing here is that, you know, if we can have a vibration of love and be conscientious in who we are in our decisions and be spiritually mature, people don't like to hear that word, but it's a good thing. There's freedom in that. All we can be responsible for is us, right? That's it. And even my thoughts about people, I'd rather send them good thoughts. I'd rather change the shift if I have anything negative and put it into a love vibration. I think if we have enough of that going on, I'm seeing a change. And you said you are too. I'm seeing a change and a movement towards something positive. So hopefully we will get through this, all of this together with this, whatever that's been going on lately around the world with this pandemic. And maybe it'll give people a chance to realize that, you know, what's important in life.
Absolutely. Well, I think we're creating our own realities and our own futures more powerfully than we ever have before. I read Penny Pierce's book, Frequency, The Power of Personal Vibration. And that is that book in a sentence. And it was so powerful for me because, yes, you have to take responsibility, but it also just really shows you that you can really change things and just get in flow where you feel that the universe has your back and just get in flow with that. Because if you feel, oh, everyone's out to get me and, you know, you're just Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh and it's just the doom and gloom report all the time. And I'm not speaking of clinical depression because that truly is a chemical thing, but just, you know, just as kind of like a personality or an energy that we're choosing. Well, what do you think you're going to find? Just psychologically, we find what we expect. We find what we're looking for because we're creating it.
Yes.
So
our words are not just words. They are creating
Correct.
into manifesting into something. I was told this recently, like a week ago, after this 555 thing, that all of us, especially the ones that have been working so very long to manifest positive things in the world, that the time of manifestation is here. That there are things in the work to bring it closer and accelerate it. So that's good. You know, you guys, you can do this. Just think positive. Just think positive.
The same messages. I've been seeing the same changes.
Oh, thank you.
Not only myself personally, but some clients have shared some really compelling stories with me, like that on the financial front, being able to break through in doing their service work. And just really being able to, because as the Sisters of Providence put it to me, no money, no mission.
You're exactly right.
And I thought, how interesting, because I worked in healthcare business development for 30 years. And to have a nun sitting there and lecturing me on economics in such a powerful way. And she was just letting me know that she was turning down the deal that we were offering and she wasn't going to do business because she said, you know, no money, no mission. We've absolutely got to make the best business deals all the time. That's how we take care of the most patients in the best possible way. So she was very clear on that. And that organization has been very successful because they're very clear on that.
Well, I think that's a good point. A lot of light workers, and some people are watching, not only Tracy, they're light workers. We've got to be able to make money with what we do. And but here's this is the biggest block I see with people, and we won't go too much further now because I know we've gone over, but is be willing to receive that and say thank you, which means I just put up my membership perks, so check it out. They're really, really good. They really are good, and anything you do does help this channel, supporting it and donating it. So, and also Wendy, we're going to put down below where you can contact her. And if they are interested in a past life reading, I mean, of course, you can buy her books and have a journey with and discover things through that. But if you're interested, you offer like a consultation.
Yes. So I offer a complimentary 15-minute phone appointment for anyone that would like to explore doing a session together and working together. And just simply go to my website, which is my full name, WendyRoseWilliams.com. And you'll see the link to the books there. They're sold. They're available via Amazon and via Audible, because I also recorded them as audiobooks.
Yeah. Oh, that's fantastic. So you've got it right here, Wendy Rose Williams. If you want to partake in this past life journey and excursion, you will not be disappointed. So look, Wendy, you're always a joy. You're one of my favorite people to come on because you're so awesome.
Well,
you're fun.
You. I just feel the same way, and you just make it so fun and so upbeat, and I really appreciate that.
Are you kidding? It's easy to do with you, and you're just so interesting. There is never something, what are we going to talk about? Because I know with you, there's so much. So thank you for your time, sharing your thoughts, your profession, and a little bit of you with our truth seekers tonight. And know with everyone, we're all seeking heaven together. We're just a work in progress, but keep the hope. Thanks for watching and subscribe. And I'll see you Thursday at 4 p.m. Eastern time, and then Friday for the live chat. Next week, we have Preston Denton, who is a UFO specialist who is funny. I had a blast with him. This guy's very knowledgeable. He's written like 30 books on this topic. So see you soon. Have a great weekend, guys. Take care and much love. Bye, Wendy. Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.